Hi, thanks for watching. This is a video on furniture restoration. It's a bit of an afterthought really because I'm working on a project and I took a few photos and I thought, why don't I put some of the videos together. This Lancashire chair I've made 2 replacement stretchers for, which I've then coloured. The work isn't finished yet. I've got to do some work on the top of the chair and then again overall, and of course it will have a wax at the end. But the front stretcher and the side stretcher are new. And I just thought, well, I've got enough video footage here actually showing me applying the finishes and talking through the process that it might be useful for somebody. So it might be a little bit disjointed, but here we go. So I've got some ash, I'm just mounting it on the lathe, and then I'm going to start marking it out, ready to turn for the shaped stretcher that runs front to back. So I've got it marked out and I've left extra on the ends. So I'm just going to get the whole thing, the whole end down to this bigger diameter, then I'll remark on it the actual tenon, then I'll do the tenon, leave that slightly over so I can adjust it for the joint, then I'll start to do the shape in here. I know the taper starts to run out here and then it's pretty straight, although it does taper very, very slightly, and then I've got to add on at the end, this end, for the other tenon, which I know is 30mm, but I've added on extra. So just a bit of turning now and then I can start seeing how we fit. I thought this would be a good opportunity to do a video on colouring. I'm restoring this Lancashire chair, which is mainly ash. I've had to make 2 replacement stretchers. The side stretcher was beyond repair and the cross stretcher was missing. So they've been fitted. I've then sealed them with shellac to give me a base where if I put stain on, it's reversible, it won't go into the wood. And by putting it on as well, I create this sort of honey background, or start to anyway. And then this build-up of dark colour is van-dyke stain, which is walnut crystals. If I mix it with water, the dilute colour, I can wash over and it won't puddle off, it will sit on top of the shellac. I can let it dry a few minutes and then if I like it, I can bank that, I can seal it with a coat of shellac. If I don't like it, I just wipe it off with a wet cloth. When it comes to darker areas like this, which are almost black, dark brown, the areas that have been worn least, and this is more like what it probably would have, the whole thing would have looked like, which is Van Dyke. We make up something called Van Dyke jam or Van Dyke cake, people call it different things, where you just make it up so thick it's like boot polish, and then I can just dip this into the diluted just to wet the brush, put it into here, and then I can apply it with a brush or a cloth. And I'm just going to build up layers, and that's the way we do it, build up alternate solvents. So it's water-based, and then sort of alcohol-based to start off with, shellac, then water, then alcohol, then water. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'll get the first wash on of this just to get that honeyish colour, a light covering, seal it, and then gradually build it up and just keep reassessing. So I've applied some Van Dyke to a cloth, and now I'm just going to... Now sometimes you'll get a little bit of surface tension like that because that's the first coat of polish. And we're not trying to get all the way to the final colour that we want. What we're trying to do is just start to darken it, get the tone right. And if I want to just add a little bit more to that, I can just move my way. And the ends I will do with a brush a little bit more carefully once this dries, where the intersections are between the stretchers. But to start off with, all I want to do is just lay some stain on there. You will leave little lines with the cloth, but they did originally, and you can actually see them when you look closely at what you're working on, and that's what we're trying to do, replicate it. You know, what we're not trying to do is spray it on and have it look so-called perfect, we're trying to have it look like it would have been made when it was original. So we're already starting to get that tone now, that sort of nutty brown. And when I put a coat of shellac on there to seal that, that will naturally change it as well. And then we can then start looking with brushes in these little parts where the joints are. And then I'll start to put on another layer and get it a little bit darker. It's got, if I look at that front leg where it's worn, and then look at the back where it's still quite dark. So we're looking to get a contrasted stretch where it's not going to be uniform. So that's just after one coat of Van Dyke. I haven't even put the shellac on yet to seal it. All I've done is gone over with a small brush in the Van Dyke jam and just started to darken into the joints a little bit to make sure I've hit everything. And you can already see the tones are coming good with just one coat. You know, if you know the recipe and you've already got the exam questions, then why not use what they used? Button polish, you know, shellac and Van Dyke stain. The bit you've got to be careful about is it's such an enjoyable process that you don't go too far and you keep looking at bits and chasing around, and then you spot something before you know it. The area that you're working on is much, much darker than everything else. So every time you build up a couple of coats of shellac to seal in the Van Dyke, walk away from it for a while, let your eyes adjust, and then just come back and do it over a period of days while you're doing other projects. But it doesn't take long, and you can see that already. So that is diluted Van Dyke crystals, thick Van Dyke crystals, button polish. Already starting to get there with those new 2 replacement parts that I had to make for this chair. Okay, so we're happy with this first Van Dyke, so I can now go on with a little bit of shellac and just bank that. So I'm going to seal that in. I've just got some button polish, which I've diluted an extra 20% with some isopropyl alcohol, just to make it go on that little bit thinner. Because even though the Van Dyke is on there and it's dried, abrasion just of the brush, if you brush over too much, you can start to drag some of it off, which again we don't mind because we're going to build up layers and we want signs of wear anyway. So, but it's just makes it that a little bit easier. So we're just going to put it on, and then we're just going to leave it to dry before we decide what we're going to do with the next coat. Another tip would be, every now and again, lift the chair or the object you're working on down to where it would normally be. Very often we're looking at something under lighting that's not household lighting, and we're looking at with the object right in front of our face. When it's down there, the stretchers are in shadow, or in, you know, depending on where the light's coming from, you're looking down on them, they look different. And just have a fresh look and assess what you think, and then put it back up on your bench. I'm going to use exactly the same process to finish off the plug that I had to put in on the arm or the hand rest there. If you don't know why I had to do that, I did a short on it, and I also did an Instagram post on it. It was because it had a whacking great screw through there, which I had to take out. That left various bits of damage. So I made a wooden rivet that holds the arm on, and then put a plug over the top of it. So I've moved the chair. The light is a bit in your face from the window, but you can see the stretchers blended in, the colour. I'm doing a little bit of work on the seat at the moment, and I've got to do some work a little bit higher up, but I'll now let the shellac cure for a few days, and then I'll have a fresh look at it and then get it finished. Okay, so we're nearly done, apart from just leaving this for a week or more to cure properly. The shine will dull down a little bit as it cures, and then I don't want it really shiny, so I'll then be doing some other work on it and waxing it finally. But you can see already the stretches underneath. You know, there's 2 new stretches in there, so the arms were looking pretty washed out. We still wanted them to show that they've been worn more and lighter, which they are, but they've just had a bit of attention The seat has been structurally repaired, and the whole chair is much more solid and much more presentable now, but it's still kept all its history and its wear and tear. There's a better look with it down at ground level. Thanks for watching.